Thanks for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. On today's episode, the Yankees have, so far this week, beaten the teams they're supposed to beat. Will this continue against the Royals this weekend? We'll discuss and preview the series. Plus, the Yankees are on Apple TV tonight for the first time this season. We'll talk about that broadcast and more, all next on Locked On Yankees.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Yankees fans. It's Friday, April 29th. Welcome to Locked On Yankees. I'm your host, Stacey Gotsoulias, and with me today is my co-host, Abbey Mastracco, and a special guest is with Abbey today.
Charlie, say hi. Charlie.
Charlie's being shy.
Charlie's being very shy. I'm in Texas visiting my cousin. So for those of you not watching on YouTube, that is my cousin's very cute beagle, Charles Barkley.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, Charlie is adorable if you're not watching on YouTube. This is an excuse for you to actually watch us on YouTube to see the dog. Speaking of YouTube, you can watch and subscribe to us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Yankees, all one word. You can listen to us in Apple Podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, Stitcher, and every other podcasting platform available. And when you get into your car, you can tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Yankees. So as I said in the open, the Yankees are doing what they're supposed to be doing so far in this 9-game stretch. When we looked at the schedule, after they played the Tigers, we saw Guardians, Orioles, Royals, and fans were thinking, okay, this is the stretch where the Yankees need to show that they're going to be beating the teams they're supposed to be beating. And so far, so good. 2 sweeps. They swept the entire homestand, and they had a lot of things working for them in this sweep, which is the big key. It wasn't just they were hitting a lot of home runs, or it wasn't just their pitching was really good. There was also productive outs and small ball actually in there. So that was good to see.
The Yankees playing small ball? Who would have ever thought?
Yeah, there were a couple of times not yesterday. Was it yesterday's game? See, I'm confusing two of the games, but there were a couple of runs generated against the Royals where there were productive outs, ground outs to one side of the field, allowing the runner to advance to second and then to third. And then a wild pitch allowed Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to score. And, that was the other night, right? Because that ended, DJ LeMahieu hit a ground out to first that allowed IKF to make it to third. And it ended his hitting streak, but it was a productive out. So it helped the Yankees pull ahead and win. So that was good.
DJ LeMahieu has been back at the top of the order, and I said it when was it? Maybe last week or 2 weeks ago that I thought that would be a good switch, and it's been productive.
Yeah. Also,
in 2019, when the Yankees were really humming, it was DJ LeMahieu setting the table, and I like him at the leadoff spot. I just think he's such a good prototypical leadoff hitter, and he is turning on the engine for that offense.
Yep. He is looking more like the DJ LeMahieu of 2019. He's not bashing home runs, but he'll hit one every once in a while. And as I said last week, the opposite field hits. Mm-hmm. That's when he's feeling good.
Yeah,
and
he's using all fields.
Yeah. Now, I kind of patted us on the back because our episode last Friday was about how bad the offense was. And since then, they've been scoring a lot of runs.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it has to do with the competition too, but,
they've been very productive.
Yeah. So
you're taking credit for that. You're saying we were the catalyst for that.
Oh, yeah. We're definitely, it's all us. It's all us. I had our thumbnail for YouTube is the Yankees offense is bad. And then they started hitting the crap out of the ball. So yes, I will definitely pat myself on the back for that. Obviously, okay. I'm kidding, but the timing is pretty funny because remember how we were talking about how we didn't think the lockout was going to end soon, and it literally ended the next day after our episode. So
that's how it always works.
Yeah. So the Yankees rebound from losing 2 out of 3 against Baltimore a couple of weeks ago to sweeping them the way they're supposed to. And I spoke about this on yesterday's show. I'm going to say it again in case you missed it. This is what the Yankees are supposed to do. The Yankees going 11-8 against Baltimore screwed with them in so many ways last season. It wasn't just all the other games that they lost. If they had played against Baltimore the way they should have, they not only would have had home field advantage in the wild card, they could have been in the running for the division if they had won just 5 more games maybe against Baltimore. It wouldn't have been such a raise ahead of everyone else. Yankees fighting with the Mariners, the Jays, the Red Sox at the end of the season. And, is this a turnaround for them? Like, are they finally realizing, yeah, we need to beat up on teams like
Well,
this?
the thing with the Yankees last year is that they played down to some opponents. Like, and that's not, we know that they were not a championship team last year. That's not what a championship team does. Sometimes you get a little lazy and you do kind of play down to your opponents, but not the way that the Yankees did. I was at a series in Anaheim last year working on an Ohtani story, and it was like Anaheim was already out of the playoffs. It was already past the trade deadline. And it was like they looked lost at the plate. And Ohtani didn't even pitch.
Right.
The Angels didn't have any of their best guys at that point. It was a late August series. They just looked lost at the plate. They looked lost defensively. And then they went back to New York and they were fine against, I want to say the Jays. And it was not the directly next series. I think it was the next series that I watched because I had to do a wedding in between that. But you can't play down to your opponents and expect to be able to just like turn it on and turn it off. You've got to build your game throughout the season.
Yeah.
Unless
you have to beat the good teams and the bad teams.
Yeah. And unless you are just like this, world-beating team, which they're not right now. I don't know that there is necessarily one in baseball right now that we're seeing that we're immediately pegging as like, oh man, they're gonna cruise to the finish. It's too early in the season. The season's too long. So the Yankees have to break some bad habits from last season.
Yeah. They've done it
Build
so
that
far.
game.
Yeah, they've done it so far. And, as I said, they did hit home runs. I mean, Anthony Rizzo hit 3 in a game. And yes, everyone's joking about how short the distance was for all of those home runs. But a home run is a home run is a home run. And he had a career night the other night. And good for him. And before we get to segment 2 and preview the series against the Royals, I have to talk about, did you see the picture of Judge and Rizzo in their hot dog Hawaiian shirts that they have? Because they both have wiener dogs. And
Wait, Aaron Judge has
yes.
Aaron Judge has little dogs, and that's adorable.
Yes. Yeah.
The big guy with the little puppy.
Yeah. They found the shirts on Instagram apparently, and they wore them together yesterday.
I gotta look this up.
To the game. Yeah. The Yankees account posted it yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, because Lindsay Adler tweeted about it, said that they were wearing it, and then she followed up that tweet saying, no, I can't take pictures because we're not allowed to take pictures in the clubhouse. Yeah. So hopefully they'll post it themselves. But yeah, the Yankees account posted it. And
yeah, that's adorable.
Yeah, it's great.
Look at those guys in their wiener dog shirt.
Yeah,
Hawaiian wiener dog.
I can't remember which one. I think one of them is named Kevin. One of the dogs is named Kevin. That's my favorite thing in the world. If you know me, you know I have a clouder of felines in my house, and most of them have human names because I like giving pets human names. The first 2 cats I ever had on my own as an adult, I named Jack and Henry. So, yeah, I'm into dogs with human names, and I think names like Bob or like Steve, like something like that is just hilarious because when you
just average white person names.
Yeah. We had a litter of kittens born less than a year after my dad passed away. And we wanted to name the gray kitten something with a G. And my mom was just like, well, let's just name him Gus after my dad. But then I didn't realize this until he went to the vet, that now there's a Gus Gotsulias in the records at the in the vet's office. And if my dad had any idea that we named a cat after him, I wonder what he would think about that. That's really funny. So, in a moment, we're going to preview the Royals series, and thank you to the Royals and the Yankees for having every starting pitcher lined up, and we don't have to joke about a TBD. But first, summer is coming, and with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on family vacation. You just throw them in your bags, in your kids' backpacks. Make sure that everyone has a bar so you're fueled for your summer adventures. The best part about Built Bars, they're healthy and delicious. No more sacrificing delicious food for health. With Built Bar, you can have both, and it's easy. All you have to do is go to built.com and order now. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% chocolate. That means that with Built Bar, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. And have you had the Puffs yet? We're going crazy for the Puffs. They come in awesome flavors like banana cream pie and churro. And who doesn't want a protein bar that tastes like a churro? And they're only 140 calories. If that's not enough flavor for you, then you might want to try our mixed box. It comes with 12 flavors of bars and puffs. Built Bar makes sure that there's something for everyone. And as you all know, my favorite flavor is mint brownie. I suggest you try it if you like chocolate and mint together. So go to built.com to get all your favorites and many more. They're delicious and new flavors are coming out all the time. Go to built.com, use our promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Doesn't matter if it's your first or 50th. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Whether she prefers a statement piece or everyday subtle elegance, BlueNile.com has fine jewelry options for every mom. Shop high-quality classic diamond earrings, elegant tennis bracelets, or gemstone pendant necklaces. Celebrating the special women in your life, on BlueNile.com you can easily navigate thousands of fine jewelry options at every price point. BlueNile.com is the original online jeweler. Since 1999, they've helped millions of couples create their perfect engagement ring and are committed to ensuring that the highest ethical standards are observed when sourcing diamonds and jewelry. This Mother's Day, give your mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Yankees listeners get $50 off a $500 purchase. This podcast exclusive is only good through Mother's Day, so use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com. Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, where you get recaps of Major League games with analysis from our local experts who are taking fans through the season like no other network. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Yay. So, Yankees are in Kansas City for 3 games before they have to go to Canada and play the Jays. We'll find out who's going to Canada when that happens on Sunday.
Who is vaccinated and who is just immunized.
Yeah. Let's talk about that briefly, because the Red Sox just played 4 games in Canada, lost 3 out of the 4, and part of the reason why they lost 3 out of 4 was Tanner Houck could not go because he refused to get vaccinated. And I believe it was Pete Abraham, who is a beat writer for the Red Sox, who made it a point to say, you know, some of these guys weren't expecting to actually have to pitch. And because of Houck not getting vaccinated, they were kind of thrust into it. And that's part of the reason why they lost. I mean, the other part is the Jays are a good team, but
yeah,
this is the effect that not getting vaccinated has on your team.
It puts guys in tough positions. I mean, it is what it is. You have to follow the rules when you go into another country. It's just, you know, if we go to Italy tomorrow, we have to follow their rules.
Yeah.
So as much as you want to say, as much as these players are saying it's a personal decision, just like a lot of other Americans have said it's a personal decision. Okay, I get it, but it affects the person next to you. And when you're on a team, there's a domino effect. Mm-hmm. And the NHL managed to get everybody vaccinated except for Tyler Bertuzzi. But the question that we were sort of asking guys at the beginning of the season was, what happens if there is a crucial series late in the season and your starting goalie can't go? You know, and they didn't have to answer those questions, but there were a lot of guys who were like, you know, it's going to cause some resentment. And And they avoided it because they all got vaccinated, and Major League Baseball is not enforcing the same, the NHL got everybody vaccinated because they threatened to fine them, or not fine them. You don't get paid for games missed in Canada if you're not vaccinated.
Yeah.
So Major League Baseball, that is how you get any sort of like adult in this world to fall in line and do something. You withhold pay. These are adults. You can say, hey, please do this. It's going to help me out. But if there's no like monetary incentive, then people aren't going to always do it. Mm-hmm. That's how it is. So I don't know. I mean, I was talking with some of the broadcasters last year who were curious about whether or not Major League Baseball would enforce a similar system to the NHL, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's a bigger league. You're still going to have more guys who aren't going to jump on board, but it's going to be an incredible home field advantage for the Blue Jays when the Red Sox come to town.
Yeah. And, we had spoken about this on a previous show. When it's a team within your division, you're playing more games against them. It's not like you're only playing 3 in Canada and then they're coming to you and playing 3 or 4 or whatever the series breakdown happens to be. When you're in division, you're playing a lot of games against your fellow division rivals. And that's a big chunk of games for you to not be a part of and for you to affect because of that decision. So, that's...
Look, you can say the rules are stupid. You can say that you don't agree with them. But when we have to go to another country, we have to respect that other country and we have to follow their rules. This is Canada's rule. And as a result, it's giving their one baseball team a great home field advantage.
Yeah.
But it is putting other teams at a disadvantage, and they have the power to control that. And, that's it. Rules are rules. You can agree with them or you can disagree with them. You still have to follow them.
Yep.
I don't like a lot of rules, I drive really fast. But if I get a ticket, that's on me.
Right. So the Yankees don't need vaccines to be in Kansas City, as far as I know. But tonight's matchup, again, it's on Apple TV Plus. We'll talk about that in a bit. And it is Nestor Cortes against Chris Bubic. I believe that's how you say his name. Cortes has a 1.15 ERA on the season with 25 strikeouts. He's been amazing.
Nasty Nestor.
He's been the Yankees' ace, and I would say the 2 players of the month for the Yankees, Nestor Cortes and Anthony Rizzo. Cortes has been amazing. And even during his start over the weekend, when he gave up, he gave up the first runs of the season and everyone was like, oh, he's human. You knew it was going to happen. He only gave up 2 runs. It wasn't that big a deal. And he's just amazing to watch. We've talked about this. It's just so much fun watching him because, with some of the stuff he throws, you expect a pitcher like that to get bombed. And so far, that's not happening.
I like Nestor Cortes because he takes the subway.
Yes.
We stand a public transportation king.
I love that too. That's great.
I love that he takes the subway and he with his mustache, he just blends right in.
He really does.
I think we've talked about this. We talked about this during the lockout when we didn't have a lot to talk about celebrity sightings in New York. And I took the subway home with Terry Collins once. It was sort of a begrudging, he got on and it was oh, cripes, there's a beat writer. But I mean, we sort of make eye contact and we were very nice. But I love it. I don't know. That's part of that's part of the beauty of New York. You have total anonymity if you want it.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge might stand out a little bit more.
Right.
And people are going to start to recognize Nestor Cortes with the mustache. But at the same time, I see a lot of guys with mustaches on the subway every day. So
yeah, that's the fun thing about baseball. I've talked about this too, where guys look so different without their hats and helmets on. Even if a pitcher, in between innings, takes his cap off and you're like, oh, that's what his head looks like.
He's bald. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. It's oh, I didn't know he was balding. Okay. Because I would tell this story very quickly. 1990 or 91, we were on vacation in Florida. We were at Typhoon Lagoon in Disney World. And my brother comes running up to my father and goes, I need a pen. I need a pen and paper. And my dad's like, why? He's like, Jack Clark is here. And my dad's like, you recognize Jack Clark in a bathing suit? Like, Jack Clark, what? Sure enough. So later that day, my brother and I are in the lazy river into, tubes next to each other. And all of a sudden, this woman starts waving at my brother from a bridge. And I'm like, who the hell is that? And he goes, it's Jack Clark's wife. I'm like, oh my God, this is the funniest thing ever. Like, my brother would be the only person to recognize Jack Clark at Typhoon Lagoon in Disney World. Like, what?
Of all places.
Of all places. It was so funny. I love that. Anyway, back to the preview. Bubik, I think that's how you say it, is 0-1 with a 14.14 ERA and only 5 strikeouts. Now, this is the kind of pitcher you expect the Yankees to beat up on. And I spoke about this before yesterday's game because Tyler what was his name? Tyler Wells had a 6.75 ERA coming into the game, and the Yankees had issues with guys like that last season, where you see a matchup on paper and you see a guy have an ERA north of 5 and 6, and the Yankees for some reason were struggling against guys like that. So with this guy coming in with such a bloated ERA, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the Yankees pound him immediately or struggle at first, and then maybe after the first time through the order, do something against him.
Well, and it's also like, it's early in the season. That ERA could sort of correct itself.
Sure.
But I think this is a series where the Yankees have to continue to, like we talked about earlier, they have to continue to win the series, the winnable series.
Yeah.
And this, on paper, is a very winnable series. It's not a 500 team. I asked Stacey earlier before we started filming, I was like, who are the Royals this year? Like, last year they had the best record in the division through like April, May, like part of May, and then they decided they were still going to rebuild. And they did come back to earth a little bit. There were reasons to trade guys away. It was not, without, it wasn't like it wasn't a move where it was like a team that's just like a Marlins move,
Right.
It wasn't a Marlins move where they were like, yeah, who cares if we're good? We're still going to keep trading everybody away. They were falling back to earth a little bit, but I was like, I was trying to look up some Royals stuff today, and I was like, I just don't know, like, what is the identity of this Royals team? So maybe they have one. Maybe this is the weekend it emerges, but the Yankees should probably like quash that.
Yes.
This is a winnable series. They need to continue to win the very winnable series, as there's going to be more difficult ones down the line.
Now, in a second, we're going to go through the rest of the preview, but maybe we should bet on how the Yankees will do this weekend, because if you want to bet on how the Yankees are going to do this weekend, BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, interestingly enough, the one player that has Nestor Cortez's number, it isn't a surprise, Sal Perez, because he's an amazing hitter. But it's only 4 at-bats, but in those 4 at-bats, he has 2 home runs. So that's something to look out for tonight.
Sal Perez is just like an ageless wonder, man. Like, he just can... I love watching Sal Perez behind the plate, and I love watching him at the plate.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
he
know
had
that's
an
what,
amazing season last year. He
really did. And he's so important to that team and the franchise.
Yeah.
One of my best friends used to work in the Royals PR office, and he said that the way that Sal treats everybody, as Sal and his wife treat everybody with such an immense amount of respect, that gets, that when we talk about athletes carrying themselves a certain way, that's part of what plays into it.
Yeah.
The respect that he treats the groundskeepers, the clubhouse guys, the PR guys, players are going to see that and understand that he carries himself a certain way. He's going to command respect himself, and they're going to see that that's how they should treat other people as well. And that you can be successful by, being a nice person.
Yeah. Imagine that.
I do sort of wonder about his Hall of Fame. Like, the people have already started asking about, is he one of the greatest catchers that we have seen? maybe not like in a generation, but he's still a top 10 catcher in the game today.
Oh, yeah.
And how old is he now?
He's up there for a baseball player, obviously. Not for real life, but
for a baseball player,
you know,
it's all relative.
Yeah, because we always talk about how old certain baseball players are, and then I look at how old they are, and they're 12 years younger than me, and I'm like, oh, okay, stop with the old
he's
stuff.
31.
Yeah. I felt bad for him during last year's home run derby because he did so well, but because of the rules and because of who he was up against against Pete Alonso in that round, and there was no way that he was gonna beat him, but he had more home runs than other guys, but because of the way they set it up in, like a 1-to-1 matchup, he didn't go to the next round. So that was kind of screwy, but he was hitting the crap out of the ball too. And he had a ton of home runs last year. Now on Saturday, it's a 7:10 start. I don't know. I feel like Saturday games should be earlier in the day. I know some people with kids are like, no, I like the night games on Saturday. And I'm like, well, I don't have kids, so I want to watch afternoon baseball. And it's all about me, damn it. But it's Garrett Cole against Carlos Hernandez. Cole looked very good in his last start. He finally pitched the way everyone wanted him to pitch this season. He was aggressive, and he was painting the corners, and he was looking like the Garrett Cole that you want Garrett Cole to be. Not exactly snarling, because I love when he does that. That's my favorite thing, when he gets all pissy and, like, say an ump doesn't call a pitch the way he wants him to, and then he just, like, throws a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to strike someone out, and he's like, eh. Like, I like that. So that's the Garrett Cole I want to see. And then Carlos Hernandez has a 6.43 ERA. Not a win, not a loss. And I'm trying to see. Yeah, the Yankees haven't really faced him a lot. The person with the most at-bats against him is Joey Gallo. It's only 5, but Gallo's batting .400 in those 5 at-bats and has 2 runs batted in. And as for the Royals against Cole, Whit Merrifield has 10 at-bats against him, and he's only batting .200. Most of them are not batting that well against Cole, which stands to reason. He's Garrett Cole. It's not that surprising. And that is a regular game that you can see on Yes, and if you're in Kansas City, you can see on Bally Sports, which, by the way, I didn't know Bally Sports was a thing when it popped up a few months ago.
Yeah, it took over. They rebranded, let's call it that, Fox Sports. Fox Sports changed hands. My former employer, all the Fox Sports regional networks have changed hands, and it's now Bally Sports. And it's like weird seeing those microphones still to me. Like, because I see my friends in Anaheim, like, who, like Mark Gubica and, like, even my friends in hockey, like, holding those Bally Sports mics. And I'm like, no, like, we worked together at Fox for so long. And, like,
yeah,
it's the same. It's the same crews too, but
right. And I think of the gym. It's I don't know.
Bally's.
Yeah.
Is Bally's gym still? Bally's Total Fitness, is that still around?
I don't know, but that's what my first thought was when I first saw a Bally Sport. I'm like, what? When did this happen? Like, I don't understand. And then
Well, it's the gambling network or gambling company.
Yeah, and then I found out from, there's Charlie again. If you're not watching
Charlie.
on YouTube, the dog is making an appearance. He's very sweet. And then Sunday,
so
Luis Severino against Daniel Lynch. That is a 2:10 start, so that is a day game for us. Also on Yes and Bally Sports Kansas City. Severino is 2-0 with a 3.32 ERA with 19 strikeouts. He looked good until he didn't look good the other day. He just kind of ran into a wall. It happens. He's looking good so far. He's staying healthy. I had to knock on wood there because I don't want to jinx that. And then Daniel Lynch is 2-1 with a 3.38 ERA with 16 strikeouts. He's a left-hander, so their stats are very close. And as for matchups, Andrew Benintendi has faced Severino 27 times, has 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in, batting .407 in those 27 at-bats. And the Yankees have not faced Lynch a lot at all. Let's see. Josh Donaldson has seen him 3 times, has a home run in those 3 times. And Kyle Higashioka, in 2 at-bats, has 1 home run against Daniel Lynch. So that's something. So we'll see how it goes.
something.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Kyle Higashioka's What was the stat I saw this
It's
morning?
small sample sizes.
Yeah. There was a funny stat because my friend likes pointing out how bad Kyle Higashioka is, which is not nice to do. It's early in the season, but I thought it was a funny tweet, and I know I liked it. Hold on, I'm going to look this up. It- Poor Higashioka. Oh, okay, yes. His OPS plus is 3. 3. And then someone pointed out, yeah, but it was like minus 12 last week, so at least 3 is an improvement.
It
So
is a big
hey,
improvement, yes.
yeah, um, so yeah, again, tonight's game is on Apple TV. I've only watched one Apple TV broadcast. It was the Mets, like their first series of the year, and like I said with the Amazon broadcast, I can watch both on my TV because I have the Roku and I have all of that stuff on my TV, but I love the convenience of being able to just sit in my room if I don't want to be around other people and watch the game on my computer.
Yeah, that is kind of nice.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I have not watched a Friday night baseball game yet. I really like Melanie Newman. She's fantastic with the Orioles.
Yes.
I'm curious to see how she works with the other crew. I'm friends with Hannah Kaiser. These are all people that I have a lot of respect for, and I'm so sorry to say I haven't watched one of their games yet. I don't know why I haven't. I guess I don't have any excuses. I'm sorry, guys.
We can blame
hockey, I guess, but
Yeah.
it's on me. So I do need to start watching some of the Friday night baseballs. And I like that they're trying to spotlight diversity and have new voices. I know that the fan feedback hasn't always been positive. However, sports fans notoriously do not like new things.
Right.
They do not like new voices.
Honestly, if we're being honest, they especially don't like women's voices.
They do not like women's voices.
No.
The amount of times I've heard people be like, I just can't put my finger on it, but there's something I don't like about her. What is it? What do you think?
Yeah. My cousin has outwardly told me, he said this about Jess Mendoza. He's like, and my cousin's considerably older than me. He's going to be 61. He's like, I can't listen to a woman do a baseball game. I'm sorry. He's like, and I know that you want to smack me for saying that, but I just can't. He's like, I love listening to you, obviously, because you're my cousin. He's like, but I can't not. He's like, I'm so used to hearing men in the booth. And that's a lot. It's a thing that a lot of people around that age group and older have.
One of my brother's friends told me a few years ago, one of my brother's friends was like, yeah, women comics just aren't funny. And he equated women in sports to that. And I was like, what are you trying to tell me, buddy?
Right.
What are you trying to tell me? What message are you trying to get across? Because it's not a good one.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I don't like women in sports, but I don't mind you. It's like, oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Guys, that's not a compliment to us. Everyone listening out there, like, don't do that.
Right.
That's actually not a compliment to us.
No.
So I do like that Apple TV is trying to, show some new voices and perspectives. That's important too. When you bring in diversity, you get some different perspectives. And they've done a few games together. They're going to start getting more familiar with each other, more familiar with how they work. When you do a national game, I've worked with broadcast crews who do national games that they have just met each other. They just met each other like a month before that. You don't have a lot of rapport.
Right.
You have to establish a relationship. That's the reason, Gary, Keith, and Ron are such an institution with the Mets. They all have this incredible rapport together. They feed off of one another. Crook and Kipe in San Francisco, same thing. Like, that's one of my favorite broadcasts because they're legitimately good friends outside of the booth. You don't have to be friends with your coworkers. You don't have to be friends outside of the booth, but developing a routine, a rhythm, they'll get there if they haven't already yet. I'm just going based on what I see from some of the fan feedback and my own experience working in broadcast TV. But I really appreciate what they're trying to do. And look, if you haven't listened to Melanie Newman call a game, she's so knowledgeable. She's just a great person overall too. I mean, a year ago, the last time I was in Texas, she was sending me restaurant recommendations. She doesn't know me that well, but she's one of those women who is always trying to support and trying to make friends with other women in the industry. Not all of us are like that. That's my philosophy, but there are a lot of people who are really competitive.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it gets you very far if you're going to be super competitive, but look, everyone's going to operate their own way. Melanie's breaking barriers, and she's really good at what she does, and she's a good person.
Yeah.
I love to see people like that succeed.
Exactly. It's always nice to see the nice people succeed. I mean, we know that's not how the world works all the time, but when it does happen, it's a pleasant surprise, and it's very
really
nice.
Is.
Yeah. So, Yankees played the Royals for 3, and then they head to Canada to play the Blue Jays. And there isn't a break. They play on Monday, and we'll be previewing that on Monday's episode. That's a big matchup. And we'll see how the Yankees do against the Royals, obviously. So we'll have a recap of this series on Monday's show. And yeah, we're getting into May, people. We're here already. I can't believe it. May is Sunday. How did that happen? After the lockout that we thought would never end, and then it ended, and then spring training, because it was abbreviated, and then the season started, and now here we are. It's almost May, and it's crazy how fast everything goes.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
And then summer's going to go really fast, other than August and September, when it's just like god awful humid.
Right.
And then it's going to be the holidays.
Yeah, I know.
Merry Christmas, everybody. We're practically there.
I know, we are. Christmas is a day away. So that's it for this episode of Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Abby and I would like to remind you that you can listen to this show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can watch and subscribe to us on YouTube. And when you get into your car, you can tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On MLB. Make your second listen of the day Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully, brings you his unique perspective on the major leagues, both past and present, and he really is a baseball encyclopedia. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. One more thing, if you could be so kind, please rate the podcast and spread the word about this podcast to your fellow Yankee fans. We'd really appreciate it. So enjoy your weekend, and we will talk to you all on Monday.